section 738. Research and documentation is 770. This research and documentation, which is taking a lot of money, and money is not being given to the core function, reveals a lot about your budgeting priorities. This commission, even if you were to budget only for complaints management, only, the public would be very comforted and satisfied. But now, research is taking the biggest chunk. And when you look at, again, the Constitution, research, it actually comes at number 3 in terms of the core function. It is number 3. In terms of budgeting, it is number 1. How do you explain that mismatch? That the first core function in terms of budgeting is receiving the least amount of money. So that is on that table. And it's also consistent even when you received the supplementary. I want you to look at page 3 of the presentation. Page 3 of the supplementary, page 3 of the presentation. When they received the supplementary, research and civic education got 1.2 billion. And complaints got only 517. So which is this research and civic education that is taking a lot of money away from the primary function of the commission? I really need some clarification on that with relation to your budgeting priorities. Number 2, Chairperson, when you look at, again, their presentation, it says, the Constitution, you can investigate on your own, the Latin call it suo motu, on your own volition or upon complaint from the public. I have been going through your presentation, and when you look at, for example, page 5, page 7, you talk about receiving complaints from the public. I want to understand, how many complaints have you investigated on your own as a constitutional mandate, knowing that there are people out there and there are human rights violations that take place that may not necessarily be brought to your attention, but are out there for everybody to see and deserve your attention? And the Constitution gives you this mandate. How many of those are reflected in your budgeting and policy statement? How many? I am interested in knowing how many, where you move out on your own to say we are observing this and this, and as a commission, we are moving out to investigate, not waiting for the public to come and make complaints to you. I am interested, Chair, in understanding that. Number 3, I want you, Chair, to look at page 13 of your presentation. And page 13, Chair, has something very interesting. It talks about complaints management. Page 9, table 9. Cases awarded at tribunal level. Cases awarded at tribunal level. 16 cases awarded a total of 506 million Uganda shillings. Chairperson of the commission, I want to understand why these days your commission, particularly your commission, is making meager awards to victims of human rights violations. Meager awards. Because by this simple calculation means these 16, on average, each received 30 million, on average. But you are talking about 30 million, and what are the human rights violations? In your own document, you are talking about torture. So somebody is tortured, comes before a tribunal, and is awarded 30 million on torture. Somebody somebody you even talk about denial of right to life in your own document, and you're awarding 30 million. Right to security, and you're awarding 30 million. Aren't you condoning human rights violations by these mega awards? Somebody has been tortured and you are giving them, and I'm just making an average, but I know for sure that these days you are awarding 5 million shillings, 7 million shillings over human rights violations. This is really, ridiculous. What stops you from making an award of 100 million, of 200 million? Whether I am saying this, Chair, that I know that this commission has been making awards commensurate with the violations. I know. There are precedents. So what stops you from making awards of 100 million, 200 million in deserving human rights violation cases? Moreover, with interest, because you are making bigger awards without interest. Yes. So sometimes, even where there is delay to pay, people will take these agencies that are violating human rights no longer have the fear to violate because the commission is making bigger awards. So I want to understand what really is happening. And yet you make an observation that the violations are happening, they are being investigated. I want to understand that. Chair, as I conclude, on page 7 and 8, you mention on your table, actually look at table 4 on page 8. Just clarification, investigations conducted by a Human Rights Commission by regional office. Partially investigated, you talk about partial investigation and conclusively investigated. What exactly do you mean? So what happens to the partially investigated cases? What happens? Or what happened to them? Finally, Chair, on page 29, the Human Rights Commission is preparing for the election. Actions for general elections that require additional funding. This is very welcome. But before we get there, I want to understand, you should have used the Kawempe North by-election as a case study. May we know how you deployed chairperson the Kawempe North by-election? And the reason why I wanted all these commissioners to be here precisely was because of that question. Who was where and who did what in the Kawempe North by-election? Obviously, a statement was issued that I read, but I want to understand the modus operandi, for example, in the Kawempe North by-election. Whom did you deploy where? And what were their findings? Because I understand there must be collective action there. Chair, I thank you.
In addition to what my colleagues have said, I am wondering where the problem is. When I look at the issues that are financed under the supplementary expenditure, I don't see any item that was unforeseeable. All these issues here could have been predicted and included in the budget without calling for a supplementary. So where is the problem? Is it the capacity of the commission to budget, or the finance has been cutting the budget and then they insist? I just want to understand that. Then on page 13 and 14, I have looked at the complaint management here, complaints management. during the presentation, the commissioner said they don't have backlog. But when I look at page 13, I look at the number of cases closed at investigation level, they are 266. But the cases that are still under investigation level, 968. And this is the core mandate of the commission. So I am wondering what percentage, what kind of performance is this? Do we say we are above average or we are below average? I will need to be guided on that. Maybe I don't understand properly, but I feel there is a problem. But I've also noticed from the submission of financial year 2023-2024 and 2024-2025, there is an increase in the cases reported from 800, let me see the page 5, 2023-24, I see 856 cases reported. And when we get to page 13, the complaints received, 2024-25, I think the current year running, half year, we are already 1,606 cases. This is a trend that is not positive. So as the custodians of human rights, what does this point to, especially amidst the budget allocations in handling the core mandate of the commission? Are we moving in the right direction or something needs to be done? And finally, Honorable Chair, it is reported that the commission visited places of detention. 2023-24 financial year, they visited, and there is a list of all the places visited. This current financial year, they have also indicated visit to these places of detention, and the dilapidated structures and issues that have been reported. I wanted to find out, according to them, is there an improvement from the findings from the previous visit to this current visit in this financial year? And if not, what is the tangible outcome of their visit to these places of detention? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Noelin.